Okay, just give it a bit. The stream is starting on the YouTube. Maybe I should link it on the... Oh? Yeah, okay. Maybe I should link it on the Discord. So... It's probably be a great idea. Wait, how do I get the link over? Oh my god. How do I even get the link of the stream? Fucking hell. Okay, well, whatever. We're live. And so, as you can see, so this is the basic Blender interface. And we're going to see some basics of rigging animation and how to use both in Blender. So, I'm going to add an armature. So an armature, I suppose you know what this is. It's a skeleton. So now we have a skeleton bone, like the first bone, the skeleton, the root. And I can expand it to make it look somewhat like a human. Did you guys know this? So, by the way, if you just joined the stream, I'm talking to Cult and Jikalkan.
Yeah.
And Black. Black, did you know about this? Black? You don't have to talk, you can just type. I'm gonna ask pretty often if you follow so you don't get lost. I'm waiting. I don't know if he's there. Is he there?
Maybe he's translating from Chinese to...
Oh.
Maybe.
I don't know, because... Yeah, he said he could understand English, this is why. But, yeah, if he has to translate from Chinese, it's going to be a lot harder. I'm not sure. Is this... Maybe he's still trying to set up his mic and he's not there. So... I think I have to wait for him, unfortunately, before I can post it. But yeah, you did know that, right? How to make an armature from scratch?
I've seen some videos from Pierik.
Pierik? Oh.
Do you know Pierik?
Everybody knows Pierik.
I think most of people know who
Pierik is he's the new meta now. It's like everybody follows him. As far as I can tell, Cars, but his animation course, I think. I think Mike followed his animation course too, but he was mostly following it on YouTube for a while. I bought his rigging course, but I did not follow because I'm not that versed in animation, but maybe one day. But the rigs you make in the course are very detailed. Black, are you there still? Oh, he said that his VPN had some issues. So maybe it's that. So I guess we'll have to pursue that him and I guess come back later. So I have my armature, just for a second. So I'm going to add a mesh. So some rigging basic. Have you ever rigged a character entirely? Actually, made a new character from scratch? Okay. So this is going to be new. So this is a character body. I'm going to, so here it's like a very basics of modeling, which, I mean, you should not learn for me anyway. So I'm going to make a very simple model, very quick, just for the sake of it. Just something that looks somewhat like a human. Oh. Well, okay, whatever. Let's not finish. So now I have supposedly my model and my armature. So I'm going to select my armature and my model and press Ctrl P. And this is not what you are supposed to do. Select the model first, then the armature. Oh, shit. Model first, then the armature. And then you can use the armature deform with automatic weight. So what I'm going to do now is parent the object to the armature. Make it so this part moves with this bone, with specific bone. And something, make it so the head part moves with the head bone. Blender has a feature to do this automatically for you. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. So in that case, you may have to, if that works, jeez. You may have to do some weight painting yourself, but for the moment, if I select my model and I go into the pose mode, I should be able to move the parts of the model. See? Does it make sense so far?
Yep.
So this is pretty much what you're going to do with the rigging. Now I'm doing it from scratch. Not going to be the case for Skyrim. For Skyrim, we already have a skeleton and we already have some models. It's interesting to know that you can't really modify the skeleton that easily, but you can change the models as you want. So this is how you can get some stuff like the Game of Thrones dragons in Skyrim, right? Because you only change the model, you don't change the skeleton. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, and as I know, there are some dragon skeleton mods, and they change the shape of skeleton.
Yeah.
But the HKX animations works perfectly good on them if the order of bones is correct.
Yeah, pretty much. So explain. You can modify the skeleton kind of, so it's called the NIF file. It's an why is it a NIF or is it an HK? I think it's a NIF. It's the model of a skeleton, and what they do in that case is they make new models or whatever, but they change the skeleton like this, right? Stuff like that. They change the proportion of it, and if you don't make the models, of course, like after you will get some. You'll see that the deform on the character will change too. So this is pretty much what happens. It's deformed basically. It's not necessarily bad or good, just depending on the needs, of course. But technically, in Skyrim, it will require a lot more work. For example, to just do something like this. So I have my skeleton, and I have a bone in the middle. If I just wanted to add a new spine bone in the middle, just something like this, will require you to implement the new skeleton from scratch, make it a new creature from the get-go. You'll have to do everything from scratch. Does it make sense?
You will have to to make a lot of work, yes.
Yeah, so you literally need to re-implement the creature entirely. Black, are you there? Just in case. Oh, I forgot to start the recording. Oh my god. Okay. Black, no answer still. Oh my god, I hope his internet is okay. Maybe he's having issues. Okay, well, we'll pause it. So yeah, just doing that thing, adding a bone in the middle, because it completely changes the bone hierarchy. So what is the bone hierarchy? You see that I have my character in my rig, and I have something called a parent. This bone that I have selected is the child of this bone. If I move this bone, all the connected bones, the bones that have the children of it, are moving. The same way, this bone is a child of this bone that I had selected just before. So if I move this one, it moves all the children. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so au contraire, if I move this one, well, he doesn't have any children, so nothing moves. Pretty simple, just to show you. Example again, I'm making a new child. If I move this one, see, the child moves with it. Okay. So basics. So this is pretty much how you do your thing. How you get a very simple rig, the simplest rig you can get, one of the simplest. And to make an animation, what you do is you save a position of your bones as many times as you need. So every frame, kind of. So kind of explaining for if someone has never opened Blender or made animation in their life. So here I have a rotation of my bone. I can click on save. I inserted my keyframe. I go later in my timeline. So here you can see I have a new keyframe, the yellow dot. If I Control Z, see the yellow dot disappeared. But here I'm saving the rotation of my bone. And if I go later here, I can change the rotation of my bone like this, of course, with a rotation transform here, or just like this. And since I added the record button, it saved the keyframe automatically for me. And if I go, I play my animation. So this is my animation. I have my keyframe. Of course, I can move my keyframe on the timeline. So, sorry, it's like you probably know all of this. It's just for complete beginners, but you can see now it goes faster. And if I move it again, it goes even faster. So this is pretty much the basics of animation. This type of work can be decent it's called forward kinematics in that case. So what is forward kinematics? Do you know the difference between inverse and forward kinematics? Cult.
I know, but I don't know how to explain it in English.
Oh, okay.
Really.
So forward kinematics is FK, inverse kinematics is IK. So we just use the initials. So I'm going to make a new bone out of it. I'm going to also probably like edit a bit my mesh because it's going to be. I didn't plan accordingly, of course. I'm going to make some actual legs. It's going. Oh my god. Going to make some actual legs again, just for the sake of seeing. Just moving that shit up a bit. Oh my god. Every time it happens, it's always on stream. Always goes so smoothly when you're alone. And yet... Okay, so I have somewhat of a new character with a shape, so I'm going to use my automatic weights again. Actually, I'm going to subdivide it even more. Yes. It's going to make it very hard to edit after, but that should be enough, hopefully. Okay. So I'm using my new automatic weights now. If I move my character, you can see now he has a hand bone. But let's say I have this bone. So this bone is... Oh, wait, is it not my root? Why is my root bone? Huh? Okay, wait. I messed up something, of course. Okay, so this one's going to be my root. And normally, you would get something where the legs are children of the root. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm adding the root as a parent. Shouldn't be the root. Normally the root is there, but well, okay. So, for the sake of the example. Now if I move my whole character, I have this. That's what happens. Let's say I want to make my character make a step forward. So I'm going to save my keyframe for this and this. And let's make the character move, make the step up, and save this one here. And okay, a bit later, moving it like this. So my character now makes a step, a very ugly step, unfortunately. But, well, we can't have everything. Let's set it here. So now this should look like a genuine step. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, I forgot to select all the bones. And of course, doesn't work here. Okay. So I'm changing this. The workflow I'm using now should never do this. Like there's a lot more to Blender. But yeah, so I have an ugly step. And now I have an issue because my foot, the point of my foot seems to be completely rotating forward. This point here should stay somewhat close because when you make a step forward, like you one foot stay planted in the ground. Okay? Does it make sense? Cut? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't? Tell me if it doesn't.
It's a basics.
It's what? Yeah, it's absolute basics.
So of course it does make sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
It is complete basics, but it's going to be I need you to completely understand this before I move on to the more complicated rigging steps. Because I saw you made something with a dragon, right? But we are hopefully I'm going to make something. How did you do for dragon, by the way? I'm curious.
I was using NifTools plugin.
Yeah.
No,
so it's just the rigging part, so not the import. The rigging part.
The rigging part. I selected. I made a new armature.
Yep.
I selected the foot bone.
Yep.
Made an IK parent.
Yep.
And selected the chain of 3 bones.
Yep.
And No, I made two armatures, one for the foot and one for the knee. I don't. Does dragons have knees? Oh,
What?
what they do? Yes.
I guess it just, yeah, it depends on how you cannot use the knee, by the way. Like, you actually don't have to. You can if you want, but it's going to be a lot harder to control if you do not use the knee. Okay. So this is IK, so you know this, just for the sake of explaining for the people who are watching, if some are. So what we do in that case is that we want the foot to stay planted here as we move. And this is extremely hard to control with this because we control the rotation. And when we move... Oh, did I? Oh, my keyboard is in English now. Oh, this is why I couldn't cancel. Okay, so yeah, we control the rotation, and basically what happens is if you were to do it manually, what you have to do is fight. You will be fighting with a foot to make it stay planted onto the ground, and we can do this. We can totally do this. So let's say I'm going to select my foot. Maybe it's something you have not seen. We use calculate motion path. It's in frames, and I'm going to calculate for the tail. So if I calculate for the head, what happens is it calculates at the root of the bone here, the root. If I calculate for the tail, it calculates for the tail of the bone, and the tail is what I want to stay in place. So I could do something like this, and just go and completely try to butcher and try to make it somewhat static, and it will be extremely hard to do this. It will really be extremely hard. Actually, the rig is kind of terrible for this purpose, but okay. So you can see the foot is moving. Not good. This is not what we want. And actually I completely messed up because my rig is not going to work, I realize. Isn't life wonderful? Okay, I'm going to pull up my dub sheet. So here you can see I have the keyframes for all my bones. It would have been smart to give them a name, but then again, it's just for the sake of the example here. So I'm going to cancel all of this and redo my rig a bit because this is bad right now, it's not going to work. I need 2 bones at least for it to work. Taking my 2 bones, doing as again my automatic weight. And okay, now I can start animating. So this foot will be forward here, and this foot there will be backward. Move a bit, gonna make the step again, inverting the 2, and just making this one move here. So we have then again, our bastardized step, kind of. So, same shit as earlier, calculating the position of, actually I'm going to clear the motion path, calculating the position of the tail of my foot, and we want the foot to stay still. So now I have 1 extra bone, but to get it to stay still is extremely hard, as you can see. Trying to get, oh, I made a mistake on top. Because these 2 bones are going to be static. Let's say that. Oh, okay. And yeah, so this is going to be extremely hard because what you have to do is basically fight with your own animation to try and make... Oh, this one did not save, jeez. Okay. This time it will work. Try and fight with your own animation to get the foot to stay somewhat in place. And this is not what we used to do, but something similar to what we used to do. We actually used to do something like this. And this is extremely stupid. Like, you should never do something like this because you just end up fighting with your animation. So you can, right? So I'm going to get a result that is halfway decent. No, not halfway decent. It's going to be terrible, but not as bad as it was before. And you're basically counter-animating. You're fighting with your own animation now. So it looks better than it was, right? But, I mean, you can clearly still see it moving. And to get it to work, you need to adjust every frame, every single frame, until it is looking perfect. And we see we are very far from it. And this is just awful. So Blender has, well, not Blender, in animation, you have a tool called inverse kinematic. So forward kinematics work in the sense that you build your animations, how I like to present it. So you start from the root of your animation, then you go to the children. You build an animation. It's more like painting. You add layers on top. So you have added the parent, and then you add the layer to the child. In inverse kinematic, it's more like sculpting. You approach your animation from the end. To do this, we need to adjust the rig. So I'm going to go here, add a new bone. And this is going to be a bit of rigging for you, so hopefully it's a bit more interesting. So this is a new bone, and I'm going to name it ikleg.r. It's R. I don't know. I can differentiate my right and left. Not a smart guy. So I have this new bone called ikf.r. So I'm going to purposefully make some mistakes. You might have fallen in them actually before, but the goal is to get this bone to control the position of the root. So you can see first that I cannot move my bone. I cannot move it because it is still a parent. It's a child of the leg, and it is connected to it, so it cannot be disconnected. If I click on disconnected, after I can move it. I will be able to move my bone. See? But because it's a child of it, if I move my leg, it's going to move my IK bone too. And this is not good because we want the IK to be the final position of the bone. Does it make sense? Yeah, I want the IK to be able to tell the leg to automatically be there, to automatically be in a position. If I set my IK here and my leg moves, when my IK moves, this is not good. I'm going to have something called a cyclic interaction. So just to show you, once again, I'm going to keep that one. What happens when you have a cyclic interaction? So what the IK does, then again, is it tells I want my leg to be here, to reach this point, and after you're going to automatically calculate what is there. So I'm going to make, and again, some mistakes on purpose. Armature bone would have been very smart to give a name to the bones, of course, which, and again, I am not, so I did not. It's called calf, this one, calf.r. Changing the name here. Okay, ik leg.r. And now what you will be able to see is that if I move this, I'm going to save a keyframe for my IK bone in the beginning, so it's going to be there. If I move my IK bone, my rig is completely freaking out. This is because my constraint is badly set. So there's something called the chain length. What the chain length control is how many bones are affected by my IK constraint. Do you understand what this means?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So in that case, I want only 2 bones to be constrained. If I said 0, it's going to affect the whole armature, which is the case. The chain length is always going to affect the whole armature. I only want these 2 bones of the leg. So my calf, my leg, my thigh. So I set the armature to 2. And now, if I move, it's freaking out, but it's only freaking out the 2 legs in the chain. And this is because we have, what I mentioned earlier, we have a cyclic interaction. So what is going on, logically, is that my IK bone is telling, if I set my IK bone there on this point, I can't even. So if my IK bone is here, in this location, it's telling that he wants the rig to automatically calculate the position of my calf and my thigh to go here. But because my IK is a child of the calf, what happens is it's going to move the calf, and then the calf is going to move the position of the IK. And what you get is that it's going to try to go in circles. It's going to try to go in circles while the leg moves. So it's well, not good. Not what we want. So I'm just going to remove the calf as a parent from my IK leg. I have my IK leg.r selected here. I'm removing the parent. And now everything works perfectly fine, as we expected it. And you can see like no more freaking out. And it's only controlling the direction of these 2 bones. So my leg here and this one there. So if we make the step with this setup, I can select it. So my bone will be here. So I'm gonna set my bone here, up. I have my bone with my IK at a keyframe. I do not want it to move anymore. And I'm going to make it so to animate my step as we planned. Up. My IK bone is actually in the ground. So one thing you can do if you feel like your animation is going into the ground or the other stuff, you can use the gizmo here and it will set you perfectly on the side. So now I can just make it go up. And because it's weird like this, I'm gonna make it be like this. we don't really care about the armature now, because the rig is extremely low detail, but with a better rig, you shouldn't have this, so let's not worry too much about this. But now, I can take my root, and make my root move, and I can move this foot to here, and if we check the step, now, it's going extremely fast. If we check the step, now you can see that my foot is perfectly planted here and will not move. So this is the basics of IK. You know this, I assume? Does it make sense? Maybe it's you have more explanation than you used to have. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't. What do you think?
Mm, the thing, I only can add something. The IK is really important on legs, but the IK on your arms,
Yeah.
if you're making animations, sometimes it is better to use forward kinematics. Actually, as an example, dual wielding animations are really easier with forward kinematics on your arms than on inverse kinematics.
Indeed.
So you need to, and it is very useful to combine forward kinematic and inverse kinematic in some cases, because something is better on inverse kinematics, something is better on forward kinematics.
Exactly. So we're going to see right now what is better in forward kinematics. So this is true, and this is very important, of course. One of the most fundamental piece of working, which I can tell because I've been here for a while, we did not master. We are really bad at it. It's learning how to use the software you have and the tools you have. I know that Black, for instance, still uses a very old rig made when I started, which was very good for the time when we had no rig at all. But now that we know a lot more about rigging and Blender usage in general, the rig seems very outdated, and you can simplify your work a lot just by knowing the tools you have. Obviously, the more tools you have, the more proficient you can be. Okay, we're going to see first why Cult says it's better sometimes to use the forward kinematic, because instinctively it may seem like it's completely useless at the moment, since the IK seems so powerful compared to the inverse kinematic. Compared to the forward kinematic, sorry. The inverse kinematic seems so powerful compared to the forward kinematic so far. So what he's saying, and the reason why he's saying that, so I'm going to remove my step, so my animation doesn't move anymore, is because if you do forward kinematic, if you do forward kinematic, you control the rotation of your character. So first I'm going to do something that, I don't know if do you know Rigify?
I tried to use Rigify, but
yeah?
How do I say? I tried to use it about 5 minutes.
Do you know how to convert this from quaternions to Euler?
No.
Okay, so quaternions, for those of you who don't know, is the system of coordinates. It's a system of coordinates with 4 coordinates. This may sound extremely weird to all of you, because in your everyday life you use an Euler system. So it's XYZ, this is the angles as you expect them. So logically, if I move around my x-axis, it's going to move. See? Look how perfectly it moves around there. On the y-axis, it rotates on itself, and on the z-axis, it moves up. Does it make sense?
Yes.
It's a lot more intuitive for us than having something like the quaternion system where you have W coordinates. You can say, like, I'm moving here, but like nothing seems to change. This W coordinates, for example, if I try to do this here, like now it will be, if I change my W, you can see that it moves everything now, while before it was moving nothing. So this is a lot more complicated for us to approach, but this avoids an issue you can have with Euler that we are going to see a bit later. But for most cases, I know that I always prefer to work in Euler because it's just much easier for me to grasp and understand. If some of you can work in quaternions, like, you probably have 250 IQ, and you're a lot smarter than us, but we're stupid in this stream, unfortunately. So we are going to use a conversion. So you can see here that I have a tool to convert my my coordinates for this specific bone from quaternary to Euler, and now my Euler coordinate will work. The issue with this is that sometimes you will get you will use an animation and then you want to switch between one or the other. There are times where Euler is not practical actually, and we are going to see that later in the stream, hopefully, if we have the time. So you may want to convert from one to the other, because just to show you, if I make my animation quaternion, so this is this, I have my animation, I'm moving it. So it's moving like this in quaternion, but if I change my coordinate system to Euler, suddenly it does not work anymore because I do not have any data saved for the Euler rotation. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So you can actually use Rigify. So Rigify, for those who don't know, it's one of the included Blender add-on by default. You go Edit Preferences Add-on and you search Rigify and you enable it. And you'll get access to a tool if you go on Pause, Convert Rotation Modes. And you can convert to whatever. In that case, XYZ is Euler. And Euler is Euler. By the way, it's just it said Euler because it's in German. So if you can click here and convert to yeah, I'm a nerd, to all the bones or only this specific bone. So I want to convert all my bones at once, and you can affect this action, only this action. An action is an animation basically. So if you see here, I have one action. It's called Armature Action 1. But if I duplicate it, so I made a new one, and I change my coordinates, you can see here I have this animation, so this action, Armature Action 2, and I can go back to my Armature Action 1, and I have the old animation from earlier. In this case, I'm going to convert all the bone and all the actions to Euler, XYZ. And now, my bone is in XYZ, so I can manipulate it with my coordinates, my Euler coordinates, and I still retain my actions. Does it make sense?
Yep.
So why would you ever use quaternions? The Euler coordinates have an issue called the gimbal lock. Do you know what the gimbal lock is?
I don't know such words.
So I'm going to switch my bone to local coordinates. And the issue with the gimbal lock with Euler is that I have only 3 axes, so if I rotate my bone, oh my god, if it works. I will look stupid if it doesn't work.
It seems that I understand what's going on.
Yeah, you see? So it's if you rotate one of the, oh, which one was it? If you rotate one of the axes by 90, I never remember which one it is. Okay, if you rotate one of the axes by 90 degrees, basically you get in a position where the 2 axes are fused together. Was it 180? Oh, I don't remember. Never remember. It's not the first time this happens. It's like literally every time I'm trying to showcase it, I look stupid. Oh yeah, I think it was this one actually. I think it was this one. Was it this one? Oh my god. I never remember. Do you remember which one it was?
No.
Man. Okay. Oh, it was this one. Okay. So if you rotate this axis by 90 degrees, you can see that my red axis has disappeared. And effectively, I cannot move my bone here anymore. See, because the red axis has been rotated 90 degrees. So what happens is I cannot move my bone from left to right, as you would expect it, like this. If I try to rotate it like this, you can see that all my coordinates are going crazy at the same time. So let's check. So I'm rotating my bone here. So my axis has effectively disappeared. And now I rotate it by 90 degrees. And now you can see that what will happen is that my bone is going crazy. It should go crazy. Is it going crazy? No, it's not going crazy in this example. Well, I cannot get it, but I guess this should be enough. So, do you know the graph editor?
Yes.
Okay.
I know the spikes on graph editor.
Spikes, do you use the graph editor?
I used to say that graph editor is the most that the graph editor is the most how do I say it? Well, I always tried to avoid graph editor, and Krem always said me, you should use graph editor. I used to say to him like, I don't need graph editor. And well, I step to the point that graph editor is must-have.
Yep.
Now,
He is right. Graph editor is one of the most essential tools you can have. You must use it. If you don't use it, you are going to struggle like crazy. And this is going to be unfortunate for you. You are going to waste a lot of time if you do not use the graph editor. Crème is crème brûlée, for those who don't know. So it's another Skyrim animator. So I'm going to open a new window with the graph editor here. And this is my graph editor. So now it doesn't really seem to mean much. But if I go here in XYZ X, I can see my X-axis. Yeah. My X-axis on this coordinate. And same thing here, I can see my Y-axis. So to make it a lot easier to read, I'm going to use the normalize. So normalize, for those who don't know, it changes the range of your coordinates from -1 to 1. So for example, you can see here that for this action, my coordinates go from 0 to something like 180. But if I want to see multiple curves at the same time, it's extremely hard now. First, it's annoying, but mostly sometimes you'll get in situation where you'll get one curve here really small. It's become really, really hard to edit. So usually we just normalize the curves. I was doing the dragger animation recently, and I was getting pissed because I thought there should be a native feature that should have been in Blender. And it should be to be able to stack the curves, to have one curve here, another curve below, and another curve at the bottom, because now everything is from -1 to 1, and it's really hard to see what is what. And if you use Blender, which is the case for literally all of us, except a few, we are majestically... Oh, I'm going to try not to swear. In a bad situation at this point, because it is not in Blender. You cannot add it. I've looked up. It doesn't seem to be any add-on, but it's by default in Maya. So if you have $3,000 a year to spend on Maya, by all means go on. Unfortunately, we are stuck in Blender, so we're going to use the graph editor as we can. So what you can see here in my graph editor is that I made a mistake on top. For the beginning part of this animation, I have why is this one moving? Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. So for the start of my animation, for doing this whole beginning, actually, I'm going to change something else, because now it's annoying. Yeah. Going to change something else too, because it's still a bit tougher to see. Okay. You can see here that only my green curves move here. And this is normal. This is what we did. We set it to 90 degrees here. As you can see here, like only the green curve. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so the green is actually the red here. So the y-axis. No, it's the green. It is the green. What am I saying? Yeah, it is the green. The green is making my x-axis move. So my x-axis is actually not moving. It's the green that's rotating onto itself. The green is rotating onto itself, but it's making my red axis move. So now, while my red axis doesn't have any change in the coordinates, you can see it's completely flat. Actually, I'm going to do it like this. My green axis is moving, and you can see the change of coordinates here. And the issue is that because I do not have a red axis anymore, if I want to make my animation move... I made a mistake entirely. Going to remove all these keyframes so it's even easier to see. If I want to make my animation move like this, so it's not a perfectly straight line, but kind of, I have to make all of my other coordinates move at the same time. So now you can see that, like, while only the red axis should have moved, you can see that the green moves, the red moves, and the blue moves. And that makes it extremely hard to control, because now, for example, if I want... Look, if I only moved it that way, right? It was supposed to be almost a straight line, but now you can see it's going up and down. Just because there are just like so many coordinates. And then again, it's like if you want to adjust this, you need to go here and manually adjust all the frames, and this is not what you want. So for cases like this, something like quaternary is recommended, because it's just quaternary does not have this issue. Does this make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, and even if it is not looking so weird now, it will look weird when the whole thing will move.
Oh yeah,
Because now you're moving only your left arm,
yeah.
and when the whole armature is moving, it is even more. How do I say it?
I'm going to show. So basically, if well,
I always forget the
it's
words.
cool. So basically, what Kels is saying is that, and he's right. This looks not great, but not that much like a big deal. The issue is that, for example, if you have this for something like your spine or your center of mass, this means that now you will get this issue for all the bones at once. It's going to make all the children moves, and your animation will just spaz out. So yeah, actually, you're right. A good point. I did not think about that, actually. Okay. So moving on to the next step. So if you want to fix it, you remember how you talked about how you can switch from FK to IK? Depending on whether the situation was better. You remember this?
I remember I said it.
Yeah. So one of the good things you can do is pretty much the same. You can go here and just whenever it's more convenient, you go to pause, convert rotation mode. You can just convert it again to the relative axis that you need. Blender also has a tool called an Euler where is it? Discontinuity filter. Does not work here, it seems. That can fix some of these issues. Sometimes it cannot, and in the cases where it cannot, then again, like you can just go here, switch to save your animation, switch to quaternion, finish in quaternion, then go back to Euler. A bit like you will do with FK and IK. Have you ever messed with an IK and FK switch so far?
With FK and IK, well, Cars rig
Yeah.
has the option to switch from FK and IK, and when I learned about it, the animation, the process of animating became much easier.
Yeah. So we're going to see now why it's going a bit in all the places, why the IK is not great all the time. So if I make a new IK bone here, IK arm.l, same thing as earlier, don't forget to remove a parent. This one is going to be my hand.l. Adding my IK constraint, less kinematic, armature, my bone, IK arm.l. Chain length of 2. So then again, now it works like an IK as you would expect. The issue is that if I go in IK, because I'm working with position, if I save my position here and I want the character to hit right in front of him, I would do something like this. Yeah. Yeah. And now you can see that the curve of the arm is actually not a great curve. The issue is that Blender interpolates it. It interpolates the position between here and here linearly. So it makes a straight line, which is not how you punch unless you're a robot. Humans, they do arcs like this. And while it may seem fine, the issue is that like now you have to adjust on every axis. So this is here, and the more you add, the harder it gets, because you may want to punch from here, and now you have to adjust this keyframe in the middle too to make sure it looks good at this point. And now if you go back, you will see that my arc is not as great as it used to be. So you may end up in a situation where you need to, and then again, it's like this example is very simple too, but it's not even how you would punch. Here you'd get an arc, and then you would get something extended there. So this is a lot harder to work with IK if you need to make curves compared to using FK. With FK, because you're working with rotation, the curve is already there. You don't need to do anything. So I'm going to just disable my IK and do the exact same thing with my FK. It's going to be then again a lot easier because, well, if you want to do it with supposedly you can just do this and it works. This is a perfect arc. The arc is a lot better than it was on my with my IK, and effortlessly. If I check up, you can see how effortless it was. Okay, so this is why you want to have an IK and FK switch, because depending on the situation, you may want to switch between the one and the other. How does the car's IK FK switch work?
You need to you need to insert keyframes
Mhm.
and then switch from IK to FK, and it also have so-called FK to IK magnetism
Yeah.
for the rig. So you can just position, for example, your hand
Yep.
in one position, but the FK rig will be different. You just tap on magnetism, and the FK will automatically magnetize to the IK position.
Yeah. So that's an.
You insert the keyframe. Well, you choose the IK rig path. You
Mhm.
insert the keyframe. You push forward one frame, and you insert the keyframe again, and then you just switch from IK to FK.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
all.
He uses the KFK snap. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm using well, so it's the same principle. Mine is just set up a bit differently. Shouldn't matter anyway. So now we have the difference between IK and FK, but the one that interests you the most, because you want to do a dragon, and you may not be aware of this one, is the spline IK. Actually, maybe you know, because Creme Brulee might have talked to you
Oh,
about it.
I tried to make
Huh.
tail IK and the head IK. It was a nightmare.
Oh, okay. So, well, I know how to do this. I've messed with it a bit. So, the spline IK, for those who don't know, so I'm going to make a new armature from scratch. And this is going to be only the spine. Let's suppose it's just the spine, because we're not interested in doing anything else. For the record, the dragon rig, which is the one you are interested in, has like 10 bone spines, I think. 10 spine bone. So if you wanted to have something that worked properly, I guess, you would say, let's simplify it. I'm going to make it simpler. I'm going to use it with regular IK. Right? Let's make a regular IK rig with for what would be supposedly the dragons. So you will get this. You will do as we made before. So I'm going to IK1, IK1. I'm going to... No, it's not. This one is useless. Okay, I'm going to divide my bone in multiple IK, so IK1, IK2, IK3. Do not forget to remove the parts, again, as I did. The spline IK is not necessarily harder, by the way. It's, well, I mean, okay, it does require a bit more setup, but once you are even a tiny bit used to it, it should be good. I did it like twice. The last time I did it was probably last year. And I just redid it once, like 1 hour ago, just to remember and get more comfortable with it before showing it. So, if I was to make spline IK, it with regular IK, I would go here, armature, IK4, and I would select, yeah, my 2 bones here. Something for the other one. By the way, there's no. Okay, I'm not going to do that. It's going to be terrible. Armature IK2 1 2. Oh, I selected the wrong one. So this one is kinematic. Armature IK2 1 2. Ta ta ta. Oh. Yeah, sorry, my bad. I was just looking something. Same thing. New IK constraint, lost kinematic, armature, bone IK2, and my last bone with the IK1. And now we have some kind of IK rig that is extremely hard to control. Oh, and I messed it up. This is the IK3 on top of this. Kind of IK rig that can be tougher to control, honestly. It works, but it can be tough to control, and you can see that it just kind of messes around. Like, this is not the right one. Jesus. IK1. 0? Should the chain be 0? What the heck? Did I mess something up? Might have messed something up. IK2. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, okay, no, that works. And here, and this can be tricky to control this one. Because if you are to make a spine, that works well, but if you are to make a spine, the way you would want it is for it to follow a curve. Because your spine is going to be curved. Like your spine is never going to do like a complete 90-degree angle in the middle suddenly. So your spine is never going to be like this. So we have something called the spline IK, and what the spline IK does is it makes your chain bone follow a curve. Does it make sense? So
never tried it.
Never tried?
That's interesting.
So yeah, to explain what the IK does is that it makes it selects the position of the bones in the chain. So in that case, it's 2 because I have multiple of them. But you can get some wacky behavior like this in the middle too. With an IK, what you do is you create a curve. So this is not what I'm doing now. Actually, I should not have removed that. I'm going to create... Wait, do they have constraint? Oh yeah, I'm going to remove all these constraints. And what I want is to add a curve, a basic curve. I'm going to edit my curve and have it be... Okay, I want my curve to start... Okay, I'm going to remove something called lock object mode so I can select my stuff. I'm going to go to this point, exactly this point, and I'm going to cursor to selected. So now my cursor is here. And what I want is... What is this? I don't have so many keyframes. What I want is to go to my curve, select the end of my curve, and set my selection to the cursor. The other way around, I'm going to go here, set my cursor to selected here, so that was the origin, and set my selection to the cursor here. So now, my curve is following my spine. To make it more visible, I'm going to make some adjustments to the curve. It should be in geometry, I think it's depth. It's depth. So now I can see my curve. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. I can see my curve, and the goal is to get my spine to follow my curve. So I'm going to go here to the top, select my bone, and add a spline IK constraint, basic curve. It is now following my curve. I can decide the chain length. So the chain length is how many bones are going to follow it. So if I set it 1, it took this bone and made it go from the top to the end. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bones. So I'm going to make it a chain length of 7. And now I have a little problem because the direction of my curve is inverted. So I'm going to select my curve, edit mode, and is it inverted? Well, I think it's inverted. Right click. Where is it? Switch direction. So direction. I'm going to set the handle type to automatic. And now, hopefully, hopefully it works. Yeah, I go to my pose mode and now it works. So now what I have is my spine follows my curve. How can I check this? If I go into my curve and start editing the endpoint, you can see that my spine is following too. The difference with the IK is that, for example, I can divide my spline in two, and now I have another control point in the middle, and you can see that my spine is following my curve. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is kind of what I want to have. Yeah?
But it deforms the bones.
Exactly. So this is one of constraint. The constraint is badly set up, as you noticed. I can just go here. So the Y scale mode, I'm going to set it to none. And now you can see that it does not deform the bone anymore. The bone just fits inside. Look, it just fits inside the curve. My bone stop here, and I can just adjust my curve accordingly to the way I want it. Okay? Makes sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I have my control point, blah, blah, blah. So, it works. This is one way to make it... Wait, sorry, give me one sec, my cat. I am back. My apologies. So, getting in help. So, the idea is to get, because we can select the bone here, we can add as many control points as we want. If I want, I can add another control point in the middle. And now my curve is also going to follow it. Right? My spine is also going to follow the control point in the middle. So that allows to get some pretty detailed animation. I'm going to show you my dragon rig in a bit, but I have to redo. Like I'll redo it before handling it because like now it's actually really bad. Unfortunately, I was just rigging back then. And, I need a lot more work. Well, I still am a beginner in rigging, but a bit less. Okay, so now we have something where if we go into the edit mode, we can control the animation. The issue is that when you go into edit mode, what you do is you are modifying the object. You are modifying the object directly. And what this would mean is that for every animation you have, for every spline you have inside your animation, you would need a new curve. And you will need to modify this curve every time. And have it be keyframe some way, somehow, with keyframe the objects. So this is extremely annoying because when I make an animation on my armature, I just want to modify the armature. I don't want to have to modify another object and then have to match the animation of the curve with the animation of my spine. Does it make sense? Yeah, so let's say for example you have an animation for the curve where you animated the curve, so the spine moves. And you have another animation for your whole body because you will get the wings, you will get the legs. After you need to make sure every time that they both match each other, otherwise you get the animation of the spine for another animation. And you get some mismatch and it will just look extremely weird. Not the result you want, and it's just very annoying to do. So the goal is to get something where you can control the curve with the rig. Kind of getting something like the IK, but directly inside the animation. So you see here I have my control bones. And what I'm going to do is, you can find it on tutorials, by the way. Obviously I did not invent it. It's public information available on YouTube. To be honest, not necessarily the most simple tutorials, I would say, to find. But well, you can't have everything. So I go to my one bone in my chain. Depending on the amount of control points, so this time I only want a few, 1, 2, 3, 4. I only want 4 control points, and I deem it will be enough. You can add as many control points as you want to have something more detailed, but for the result I want, this will be a waste of time and too much work. So here's the deal: how to set up the spline IK. Now here's the part you wanted, the part that's also extremely annoying. So I select my bone in pose mode. I select my curve. So to do this, you must have here lock object mode. This must be deselected. I select my curve. I go to edit mode. I select my, oh, I made a mistake on top. I'm going to move this selection to the cursor. So I have one point in the curve selected. One of the points in the curve is selected. And now I'm going to select Control H, hook to selected object bone. And I'm going to do the same here. So this point, I'm going to select back my pose bone, selecting my shift selecting because you need to have the bone selected, shift selecting my curve. I select my point, Control H, hook to selected object bone. And now just to show you the result, if I move my bone, you can see that the point in my curve is moving, my curve is moving. And same thing here, you can see. And this is basically how you get a spline IK rig. Does it make sense?
Understandable.
Yeah, so that shit here is removed. Okay. Now we've seen the best of everything, I guess. To be honest, like you could do something with the spline IK too, by the way. It's like you could get some very good result with the spline IK. Even if you decide not to use FK for some reason, but as always, it's always better to use the most appropriate bone. I know that for my rig, my dragon rig is a mix of IK and spline IK. I don't use FK for the dragon. The spline IK did its job, and to be honest, I like not to switch much, like I'm pretty simple in that case. So I'm going to open my Dragon file. Should have something prepared, and we should see. I hope I have it saved. If I don't, this will be yet another moment where I will kill myself. Okay, I have it. Going to close this. What we should get is, we're going to see how to make something that is a bit similar to what you will get with a Cascada. A bit similar, not completely similar. As you can see, I'm using the light mode, for I am extremely based. I know a lot of you hate it. So I'm going to switch to the dark mode. Closing this. Okay. So now I have, this is a spline IK rig for my dragon. So I have like a few control bones. So this is like the spline. I'm going to make appear my, oh, by the way, you can see how I have something to disable my constraints. So I know a bit of scripting. I highly recommend you learn a bit of scripting too, because this can be useful. In the cars rig, so there is an IK snap mechanic. Here I'm disabling and enabling the IK. Normally, in my latest rig, I have one, like, I do it in one button, but this is an old rig. It's like 1 year old. Okay. Wait, what was I doing? Yeah, I'm going to show you the spline. So you can see here, actually, I don't have just one, I have multiple splines. So this dragon is like almost, it's entirely IK, or almost entirely IK. So the legs are IK. You can see here, for example, that I badly rigged the toe. And also I have an issue, I do not have enough controls on this spline, but the spline IK here, this is a spline, you can see the curve moving. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all of this is a spline. This dragon is literally just a giant spline. So I have a spline for the curve too here. You can see it's small and in red.
A big busy monster.
Yeah, but the spline can be, honestly, I find the spline to be extremely useful. And I'm going to show you then again. So you are working with Cremoulet, who uses Cascada, right? So there's...
He used Cascador, but, well, you can't practically export anything from Cascador with the right point.
Well, that's going to be, well, some more work for, I guess, another stream, because, like, I didn't plan to do this at all. Like, I was just, Wait, Black, are you still here, by the way? Can you send a message in the chat or whatever, so we can see if you're still here?
Well, let's say that Cascador, even I don't understand how to say something. Cascador looks pretty OP.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
It looks like a good program. I don't know how to say. Well, everybody says that Maya and all Autodesk programs that they are the basics of the animation, 3D, and all this stuff. It's even hard to look on the interface because sometimes I just don't understand how people work in Autodesk programs. Just because the interface is shit.
Well, I do not know about Autodesk. Unfortunately, I only know about Blender, and since how do you say? Blender is free, and all the Autodesk programs are like 3,000 a year. So everyone in the modding community is using Blender. I think also in the animation scene, the younger people are using Blender. It's like you get Maya if you go to 3D Uni or whatever. But for most of us, we are poor. We cannot afford this type of programs. So, okay. So Blender is here. Just to show you, then again, we're going to try to reproduce a bit of how Cascada does its thing. It's not going to be as good as Cascada. It's just that before Cascada was a thing, Spline IK was the way, at least for me, to get some very quick result. Hopefully fast. Someone like, why is it lagging like crazy like this? Blender is I don't know. I think my computer can support all of this. string like crazy. So are you familiar with the bone layers? Cult, are you familiar with the bone layers?
Bone layers? I haven't done it.
Okay, so and again, it's a bit of some workflow work and just presenting the tools, hopefully to people who will watch and understand and do not know how to use them. So bone layers are a way to organize your bones. So this is the entire rig, and this is painful and annoying to see and watch because you just get all the bones everywhere and it's just annoying. So what you can do in Blender is like you can select a set of bones. Select a set of bones here and here, and change bone layer, add them to a new layer. So I'm going to add them to this layer, and now I can only see them. And this makes working with Blender a lot easier. So you can go here and change the layers that you see. There's an animation add-on, I think. Oh, I don't have it enabled. Huh. Well, if I had it enabled, no, I do have it enabled here, bone layers. And you can give the names to the bone layers. So like, for example, I can name this one spine or whatever. So this is a free add-on for Blender. You can get it on Blender Market, I think, or Gumroad. I don't know. Well, just search bone layers, but it's very useful. So I have this. Let's try to make a small jump to then again reproduce the results of Cascada. So for my case, I only want to have my spline IK bones. The rest, I'm not even going to animate them. It's just a really quick example, trying to get some results extremely quick. And just to show how essential having a good rig is, and the difference between having a bad rig and a good rig. Because if I try to make it, then again, all by changing the rotation of all these bones, this will be an absolute nightmare. But on the other hand, if I try to get just a small, just a small animation done really quick. And again, like this rig is bad. It's like I guess you know why I'm reluctant to publish it, at least at the moment. Let's yeah. So here's the. Oh, I did not select a hook. Oh, I guess that is why. What the heck? Okay. That's pretty awful. But okay, whatever. That's So this is the starting pose of a dragon. Let's make him jump some way, somehow. So I'm going to just select all my bones here, just make them move down. Actually, I'm going to select all of them. Up. Why did it not save? Oh, why does it refuse to save on my sheet IK? What's going on? I don't know why it was not saving. It's weird at times. Okay. Going to remove like all these keyframes for boards I'm not using for this one. Up. Okay. Oh, where are the tools? Up. Okay. Now I have all my bones. So you can see the dragon is going down. Let's make it jump. So to make it jump, I'm selecting everything. I'm going to make him do a small jump. And I'm going to copy my idle again. Actually, I'm going to copy the pose where he's down. Up. And I'm going to copy my idle again at the start. So he's going to make... Oh, it's lagging like crazy. He's going to make a small bounce. And if I just make it go play, you get something like this. So this is, then again, by no means good animation. But we can tweak it a bit so it doesn't look as bad. So the way I do it usually, and this works extremely well with IK, is that I order my bone, depending on the hierarchy of their chain. So for example, in that case, I'm going to change the tail and the spine. So what I want is that the movement is starting from the center of mass here, and it's going up there. So what I'm going to do is just I'm going to delay them more or less depending on how close they are. So I'm going to delay the spine here by 1, the neck one here by 2, and on and on and on. And you get something where it seems like the movement propagates towards the up. Then again, it's like can just do something like this and call it good animations. It's just something to get an idea of what you can do. But like now it seems like the movement propagates a bit more. You see, at least on the spine level. Does it make sense?
No, understandable, yes.
Yeah. So then again, this is like kind of what Cascador would give you if you were to only use Cascador and never took your animation behind, which is obviously not recommended. Cascador is extremely good. You should probably use it. I didn't because I didn't have the time mostly. But if you can, definitely use it. Or if you don't learn how to use it. And then again, it's like Cascador is merely a tool. After, you will still need to tweak it, at least as long as it's not perfect, which it might become in the... Oh, I made a mistake, which it might become at a later time, but just not now. So here I made a mistake because it's like, it's symmetrical. So it should be by pair of two. It's just like from one side or another. Okay, so then again, I think Cascador will give you that in like 1 minute or something, even less. So now we have like a movement for the wings too. I'm going to hide my... I'm going to hide the curves. We don't need to see them anymore. So yeah. Cascador should probably give you something a bit similar. Yeah, a lot faster. So now I'm just going to offset to my legs to give offset the legs and offset the left to right to give it like somewhat of some asymmetry. Make it look, hopefully, a bit more natural. See? Bit more natural. So then again, by no mean good animation. So it's a start. And you can get some pretty decent results. And then after, you know, it's like it's your job as an animator to tweak it and make it hopefully look good some way, somehow, with any means you can. So for example, here, it's like trying to make it look like an actual jump. The good thing is with IK here is that like it's very easy to tweak and make it look like he's actually jumping. See? It's like just messing around a bit with the timing. Oh, this one's like too close. Oop. And again, it's like as you've seen, like in a few seconds we can go from nothing to something that is, well, not decent, not good, but at least is something. I would say. Here I have an issue, of course. Is that the leg, this part, the mid is completely way too low for both. So I'm going to use my graph editor. Then again, why you should learn the graph editor. I'll go here, and I think this is the Y location. Yeah. And I'm just going to select both my curve for it, and just move them up, both. And now it's pretty much fixing that part. This one is having issues, obviously. But it should also be an hopefully easy fix. Oh, wait, something happened here. Oh yeah, so the controls are the same for everything. I just wanted to move them up, not on the side. Same thing for this one here. I can, well, now it's a bit difficult because what I want to do is this, right? And I get my issue as always. So what I'm going to do is, because it's hard to change and find the right curve in quaternion, convert to Euler just for this single bone for this single action. So this bone is now in Euler, and I can just, okay, so this is this one, just move it up, and now convert this again to quaternion when it will stop lagging, hopefully. Convert this again to quaternion, and now my name is somewhat fixed. You see how easy it is to mess with something when you have a right tool. If I didn't not have a graph editor here, I would have had to change everything manually on this part, whatever. And then again, it's like now it's really bad animation, but it's just done like extremely fast. You can get, by the way, some pretty decent results extremely quick in general, like you know the 80-20 rule, right? It's like it's so easy to get to something that's 80% good. It's just that like getting to something that's 100% good it takes a lot of time, a lot more time actually. Once you have mastered the fundamentals, the timing the poses, the basics. It's mostly that, actually. It's mostly the poses, getting some good poses, which I did not do here, by the way. It's like, this is not a good pose by any means. Like, I mean, this is a terrible pose, but it's just for the sake of showing. The timing and the pose, like, your animation will look so much better, like, almost immediately. Here, the timing is not so bad. It's not great, but it's not so bad. Okay.
It is a new dragon animation. It is already something.
Oh, I think people will hate seeing a dragon animation like that. So then again, after it's a lot of work and it's your job as an animator to make it look good, use Cadre, use Blender, use Maya, whatever is better. From what I heard, Blender is actually the worst at animation. Overall, it's a very good software. Like, you can do a lot of things with it, but specifically for animation, it's not good. For example, then again, this is like one of the things I mentioned earlier, how if I want to edit my curves, multiple curves of the same bone, I cannot have them be up or down. They're all on the same level, and that makes it really hard at times to work with a curve editor. Especially if you do, you probably have this issue, by the way, since you do retargeting, but me, I know this is one of the biggest issues I have with motion capture. What?
The problem with retargeting is sometimes it is always the spine that on Skyrim rig it is always getting much more down than it is on the retargeted skeleton or animations. I don't know why. Maybe because it is the pose I make.
So, if it's just that, you can probably just go after in the graph editor, you select all your curve, blah, blah, you just select S. Oh, okay, I'll just show you another one. Just to change the amplitude. So this is on the y-axis, right? I can just select everything here. S, Y, and scale it down. So you can see now that the movement, it's normalized, so it came back to the same point, right? But before it was, okay, I'm going to do it here, actually. If I reduce the amplitude of my bone, see that like the animation changes, the bone goes a lot less up. Okay?
Let me add something. Sometimes it is... well, the skeleton from the retargeted animation comes already baked. It is baked, and when you retarget, you get a baked animation. So you need to delete keyframes, you need to add something by yourself, and sometimes the skeleton from which retarget is coming, it is not. It is not similar, but sometimes it gets so weird proportions. So you have to do something manually, and sometimes I think блять, как сказать? Sometimes messing with the retargeted animation is it is even harder sometimes than to make an animation yourself. Yes.
I would say that
it is not always. It is just something like 1% of all retargeted animations, but sometimes you get a so weird retarget that.
I would say that like for having messed with it a lot, since now I have I do mostly retarget and motion capture. It's like the main issue with it, I would say, is that I think it's not that it's harder. It's mostly that it's a lot more discouraging, because when you make an animation from scratch, it's your thing, and you have all the creative process, and you're tweaking the animation, whatever. On the other hand, when you do retargeting cleaning or motion capture cleaning, it's a lot more technical, and all the fun has already been done before, so all you get is the most annoying part. And this is basically just hours of literally cleaning, and this can be pretty awful if you have, particularly if you have a bad setup. So let's see how, maybe, hopefully, we can fix your setup a bit. So I'm going to open another rig, I guess, and I'm going to show you my workflow, and you will see the new animation for the Joker if you are here. If you see if someone is watching. Yeah, there's a few people watching, not a lot at all. But yeah, so you will see the new animation for the Joker while you're here in exclusivity, and you will see my workflow too for this. So if you were here from the beginning, I do use something similar to the workflow of that Cult is using, which is an IKFK switch. So what you can see here on this point is just it's the IK, but I'm only using the IK for the fit. So why is my layout like this? It's because I use two screens. If you make animation or use Blender in general, please get a second screen. If you can, a third one. Because basically now you can see, but what I have usually on the second screen is this. I have one screen just for the, actually use three screen most of the time. Well, no, not most of the time, I use two most of the time. But I have this, and this part is literally nothing but animation. It's just animation. Just the animation part. So here I have the curve, the graph editor, the dope sheet, and on this part I have the NLA. Do you know what the NLA is?
I'm seeing this first time.
Okay, so you...
It looks like an annotation tool I've seen in DS Anim Studio, but I think it's not it.
It is completely different. VNLA is called nonlinear animation. It's the tool that you use in Blender to layer your animations together. So just to show you, I'm going to... oh, by the way, then again, so do you have a second screen?
No.
Okay, buy one. Like a cheap screen, whatever, just something to monitor what you have on the side, because I can tell my when I have three monitors, which I don't, most of the time I work on my laptop, so I only have two views. I have a portable monitor, and I got actually two portable monitors, but like I lended one of them to someone and I never got it back since. So I'm waiting. But you can get something like this. See, so I have one view with this, where I do my main stuff. I go here, I change the keyframe, move the keyframes, whatever. I have one view for literally nothing but animation, and the last view is several angles to see my animation. See? And this is like such a workflow change compared to having to use just one screen with like, I'm going to, oh no, okay, you know what, I'm not even going to fuck it up now. I'm going to use it the other way around. By the way, if you use, like me, if you're a laptop enjoyer, I have something called animation vertical, so you can see it here, but this one is made for when I turn my screen 180 degree. If you can get a new monitor, a cheap one, anything, just to have a second screen, just to monitor what you're doing, this is going to change your life. People use it for code or whatever. For Blender, I think this is actually essential. Even when you mod, honestly, so you can have like your modding screen on one side and your non-modded screen on the other side. So yeah, I have like, I don't know, often I have like ChatGPT on the other side. It's like if I need to ask questions or whatever, or tutorial. Okay. So this is my animation. I have, and now it's getting harder because I have to redo the layout. Sorry, so you're going to see me mess a bit with the interface, trying to get something decent, because now my this is going to be terrible if I do it like this. And the star of today is going to be the NLA, the non-linear animation editor. So in Blender, I have here layers of animation. If I click on this one, for example, this one is called, I'm going to take one that is good. What is this? This one, no. Yeah, this one, actually, yeah. This is the attack 3. So this is the layer that I am in right now. I disabled all the layers above. And what you can see here is that, well, it looks awful. And it looks awful because I am in IK mode instead of my trusted FK mode. So I don't do it like Cars or Mike because I prefer to go the scripting route. Where is the text editor? Do I not know how to read? I prefer to do it the scripting route. So I have a script that just switches me from IK to FK instead. And what I do is that I bake my layers. So this is straight up mockup, straight mockup. straight retargeted mocap, and you can see that it's full of issues. The feet are immediately onto the ground. If I actually, maybe I should take another example that will hopefully speak even more. Yeah, this. Do I have another one? I don't even have a one that I wanted. Okay, well, whatever. So you will see that like one of the issue I have often is that my retarget actually never starts in the middle. It literally never starts in the middle. Usually it pushes me there, back there, or whatever. So I fix it using layers. So the way I did it for this one, it's like as you can see, I have my feet onto the ground, and I use my layer to blend my animation with my idle. So idle debut means idle start here. So here what I did is that I added my idle. Oh, what is this? Oh, wonderful. So you can see here a prime example of a gimbal lock, actually. So this is the thing we talked about earlier with the Euler going crazy. If I just show you, because you remember, so now I was working in Euler, and my center of mass was just completely rotating my character. So what I did is that I made another layer here to replace it. So this is using the Euler filter, so that fixes it. So here, this is my idle. This is the start of my idle, and I'm mixing it with my animation. You can see here. So this is the animation as it starts, and here with the idle mixed with it, because this was the pose of the previous attack. And I'm just blending them together until it leaves. And then if I go to the middle, so this is like a frame in the middle of my start here. So these two layers are disabled. So this is just my power attack 3. Puissant means power. Well, in that context. And you can see here, for example, that my feet are onto the ground. I don't have them in my idle because my idle is already fixed. And then again, if I disable my blends, like the pose is a bit different. Well, you can see it as well here because of the gimbal lock, but the pose is different. And basically, this is how I got, in an easy manner, something that kind of matches my previous attack, right? So Blender will blend the two animation together, so I don't have to animate all of this by myself. Does it make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So here you can see on this one I have four different clips here instead of one. This should be just one. The reason why it's not just one is because if I go in my NLA here, I'm using another feature of an NLA. You can see here that the playback speed of this animation is actually 0.6. So this animation is accelerated almost twice. The beginning is accelerated almost twice because it's just going to be terrible in game. The next after is like 0.719. So this part is played a little bit faster. And then here, this part is played at normal speed, at the speed at which it was recorded. Next one, tiny bit faster, 0.7. So the attack actually goes a bit faster. The recovery is at normal speed, right? But the attack is a bit faster. And then we have, what is it? 1. So this is the recovery again. If I play all of this immediately, you will see that it plays smoothly still, right? But this is a lot of stuff that I actually did not have to mess with. If you wanted to do this in Blender, what you need to do is go into the dope sheet or the graph editor. You go, you click on Edit. Blender. I do not have the bones I wanted because I only have a layer for the IK. You will need to go select your bones here, and then if I didn't have the NLA, what I would need to do is go select some of the keyframes here, scale them, go select the next one, scale them according to the speed I want. I used to do that, by the way. I used to do this when I started doing mocap, and it was fucking awful. This is actually why in the beginning it took me a lot. It actually took me more time to do the mocap than it took me to do this. It's only recent that I'm starting to use the NLA, and the NLA is a crazy game changer. So let's say, for example, here too, you can see I have something called bras gauche clip. So it's to correct the clipping. If I remove the left arm is this one. Actually, I'm going to remove this one too. So if I disable this layer, you can see here that my arm is going to clip here. The weapon is clipping. So you can do this type of correction with the NLA. And this is non-destructive. I did not change this animation. I just added something on top of it. Does it make sense?
It makes sense, and I can add something.
Yeah, sure.
The clipping issue. Uh, Sometimes clipping is not an issue if
Yeah,
the player cannot see it.
yeah.
I've seen a lot of From Software
Oh
animations,
yeah.
and I've seen so much clipping
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But you don't see it in game
Yeah, yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. From
So
software, yeah. Sorry, go on.
so sometimes if you want to do some good badass maybe edgy animation, and you see that some part of the weapon maybe or the arm or something is clipping, it's not always bad, as I understand, because in game there will be an armor on the actor. There will be a weapon on the actor. Player will play the game. He will not look at the animations with the SGTM 0.1 and see, oh, this animation is clipping. It is a bad animation. No,
For
it
those
doesn't work.
who don't
It
know,
doesn't work like that. So
SGTM, as you mentioned, it's something to change the time scale in Skyrim. So this is what people use to see the game in slow mo.
yeah.
So the point, yeah, he's right, is that the player is not going to slow down the game to look at the animation and see if it clips or not. Here, you can obviously see it clips, so it actually needed it. This is very obvious. Like, not this one. This is like extremely obvious that it clips. But if this is true, and there's smear frames, a prime example of this. So smear, for example, if you do, you know what smear frames are?
Mirror frames?
A smear frame, SMEAR.
No.
Okay, so
I'm not so. I only work with I haven't worked with Blender even a year.
Okay,
Myself.
okay. So a smear frame is that you take your animation, and in the middle you're going to do something like this. You're going to exaggerate the motion like crazy, and usually it lasts 1 frame, 2 frames, and it's to give to exaggerate the animation. Give it like a, I don't know, if like a for example, for this slash, this specific slash, if I wanted it to be like more impactful, I could do something like this in the middle, just for 2 frames. And you will not see that the arm is extended, because at full speed you will just not see it. But you will feel that something has been exaggerated. If you have seen the never pause Naruto, or maybe I can find a prime example of this.
I've seen something like this in Pierrick videos
Yeah.
Of the. It was about a fist fight animation, maybe with this. He has a model of Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
and he made it almost every hit.
Oh, he made it what? Sorry.
He made.
Oh, a smear frame for every hit.
Yeah. Yes, for every hit, and in at the end it looked so good.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's important to remember that animation is something dynamic. It's not something that is paused in time, right? You're going to look at your animation, the whole animation. You're not going to, well, except for other animators, I guess, like people who are completely crazy and that are going to just watch animations frame by frame, which then again, maybe some people who do that. Mostly animators, I guess. But yeah, this is a prime example of a smear frame. So this is in Naruto. So Sasuke does something like this. It looks weird when you pause it, but actually in the animation itself, it looks... You don't see it, you don't notice it. It looks completely normal. So that's a smear frame. Yeah, so the animation does not need to be perfect all the time. Not even not perfect in that case, I would say. It's just that it needs to be intentional. If it looks intentional, if you make it, if you can sell it, basically, it will be fine. Just that, do we have I think we might have some Euler issue here on the arm. Maybe I'm not even sure, actually. Did I do it on purpose? I just saw it because I paused it, but no, it actually looks fine. Yeah, completely looks fine. Okay, so let's move a bit more. So then again, so you can see here actually how I worked. Then again, this workflow, this is the first time I'm actually using this workflow fully. Before it was taking me a huge amount of time. So here I have another layer, and you will see how, then again, combining the different techniques you have makes the work a lot easier. So this layer corrects the position of the feet. And as you can see, there is no more sliding, no more feet clipping. How did I do this? So this is what we mentioned earlier. I did this with an IK-FK switch. So for example, the arm clip, I changed it with the FK because it was just very easy. You just rotate a bit the arm. But for the feet is really, really hard to work with if you are using FK. So the way I did it is that I baked. Do you know what baking is? Yeah, you know what baking is, right? So for those who don't know, baking is that when you take your animation and you make keyframes for every frame. So this is what baking is. In that case, my IKFK switch with my script, what it does is that it makes a constraint on the legs, and what they do is they copy the position of my IK feet, of my, just to show you. So I have this bone in IK, they copy the position of the FK every frame. And after when I switch, with IKFK switch, I can just edit them. Oh, that was the wrong one. I can just edit the IK instead of working on the FK. And then, when I want to come back, I just bake again the FK to copy the IK. This is done automatically by the script. And then I can just push it onto another layer, and now my IK feet are fixed. And then you can see that this is actually a switch because I only did it for the feet on this specific part. Like there was no point in baking the arms because the arms were completely fine. So all I needed was to correct the feet. So I just baked the feet. So this is the animation that you see now. It's in IK. If I switch to FK, it's playing perfectly fine. So why did I do this instead of correcting everything? It's just that it's much easier for yourself to be organized like this, to have one layer do one thing. For example, here I can see exactly what this does. So that layer does the left arm clip. Bras gauche is left arm. This one, arm in French means weapon. So it corrects the weapon clipping. If I disable this specific layer, if I disable this layer, then again, so this is what we saw earlier. If I disable it, the arm clips immediately. The weapon clips immediately. I forgot to enable it. And yeah, so now with these layers like this, I can have, hopefully, a fixed animation, and this is the result I got. Now let's see something a bit more interesting, hopefully. So this is one of the way I did it. So you've seen that I used the blend, right? Oh, did this one not work? This one didn't work. So this is the combine. I want to show you the combine. So you saw that there was a blend, and I'm not actually using the blend all the time. Oftentimes I'm using the combine method. So what the combine method does is instead of actually I'm going to show you live on the new layer. If this could be useful for you. Actually, yeah, it's not valid because it's going to be useful for you 100%. So I have my animation here, and let's say I want to have something affect the animation, but instead of having replace of the movement of this bone, I want to combine the movement of this bone with something else. So for instance, your issue is that the movement is super exaggerated here. Let's say I retargeted and my character was too hunched, way too hunched. So instead of being like straight like this, like he is now, let's say he was something like this with the spine. One thing I could do, it's probably not the way you want to use it actually, but that could be useful for you later, is to create a new action here. So I created my new action. I go in my action here, select, I press N to activate the modifier. Does it make sense so far, this step?
Yes. So
No?
Wait. I was switching my light.
Oh, it's cool, it's cool.
What?
No, go on. You tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, I turned it on. Yes.
Okay, so here, then again, I'm going to repeat the step. So I make a new action, so a new animation. I click on the NLA here. I can see that I am editing this action. If I rename it example, you can see it's renamed example here. And I can see the blending is set to replace. So I'm going to set it to replace, actually, just to show you. Actually, not with this bone, with this one, with the comb bone. And now I'm going to push my action. Instruction to hold. And now you can see that my comb bone does not move anymore. And the animation is completely weird because this part, the comb, when it moves, this is the part that actually controls everything. It's, well, not the only, but it's at the root pretty much of the animation. So this is what happens with replace. So the replace, as stated, it replaces the data for all the animation. So it does not move forward anymore. It does not rotate anymore. This is one way you can do it. This, for example, the way I did it for the feet. For the feet, I baked every frame and I just manually corrected them. But sometimes you can want to use something more simple. So the actual combination. So for example, here I go to my combine, to my example, same, but instead of making it blend, I'm going to make it combine. And what it's going to do is it's going to layer the data of my animation on top of a previous animation. So prime example, I have, wrong bone. Okay, I'm going to take this one because this one is good. This one. So now he's like super hunched. I'm going to change the extrapolation to hold. And now what happens is my animation plays, but he's hunched all the way around. Does it make sense?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, so that you can obviously see how useful that shit can be. We're going to see a bit more. So extrapolation, what it does is, it's, if I set it to nothing, basically it's going to work only during this strip. So now I have my animation, I reach my strip, and now suddenly he's hunched. I pass the strip, and he's not hunched anymore. And I can change the amount of time he's hunched here, right? Suddenly not hunched. I can change the blend. So the blend is exactly what you expect. It's going to progressively make the animation, the hunch happen. So instead of being super brutal as usual, if I set it to 0, see? Now the hunch happens progressively. And you can see it here on the strip. It's called an action strip. Same thing for the blend out. Of course, I can make it blend out faster, slower. Then again, the NLA is honestly maybe not as essential as the graph editor, but it should be a staple. If you don't use it, you are missing on a lot, and you're making the life a lot harder for yourself for seemingly no reason. There is no reason not to use the NLA, especially if you are editing retargeted stuff, as we do. So I have this, and I think that should be about everything for today, right? Is there more you wanted to know? Oh yeah, the export. Oh my god. I'm just...
Export later, you said later?
Yeah. I have to admit, I fucking hate it, to be honest. Like, the export is worse, because like, this part is actually kind of fun, I have to say.
Yeah, of course animating is more fun than exporting it into Skyrim. Oh, I had
so unfortunate.
bad time exporting.
Yep. I've been here, like I've done that too. It's unfortunately the thing is that. So for anyone here who is making mods, trying to make mods, trying to learn to animate or whatever, whenever you do something like this, as we do, it's pretty fun, I guess, as long as you are in the software you use. It's probably the same for coding, I think, too. So if you, as long as you're just coding, it's fun. The moment you try to add something to Skyrim, it's when the shit hits the fan. Like, it just becomes awful. And this is all just technical stuff and not fun at all. Very annoying. So to be honest, I'm very grateful still, because like there's a lot of stuff we can do now that we could not do before at all. Like, not at all. Creators was a complete no-go. Even a year from, maybe not a year, 2 years back. Well, we could, but it was just super hard. And actually, it was, you know why it was super hard? Because you actually needed to do math before. Like, you needed to calculate the what?
I understand.
Yeah, you need to calculate the bone roll for every single bone, and it's just, I can do this. Like, I can't. I mean, maybe someone told me or whatever. It's just terrible.
And then you see the mod Ultimate Dragons, and you understand that the maker of Ultimate Dragons is something like Giga Chat, because he
That's
has done it in
yeah,
2016.
yeah. I don't
It
know.
was in 2016, maybe.
2016? Wait, so it was like Ultimate Combat. I am not. Yeah, I don't think we had any of this figured out back then. There was well, there was literally no animation scene, and to be honest, Blender actually helped a lot with this because a few years back, then again, if you were Blender was fucking awful, and Blender was awful, but 3ds was awful too. But 3ds was paid, and all the workflow when I started, there was almost nothing for Blender. Everything was in 3ds. So it's like I remember I spent months, well, months, not full time, obviously, like of time to time, just looking up how to make animation. And everything was in 3ds, and then again, 3ds, unless you're a student, it's 3,000 a year. You don't really want to have to pay this, especially for modding. I think I was making like 4,000 a year about back then, so when I was still studying. So it was a tough time. Now it's also everything is so much easier, and well, to be honest, it's much easier, but we still have a lot of issues. In Starfield, Bethesda said that they are going to release all the tools, right? So all the animations that we have now that we are struggling like crazy to have. Even I myself, by the way, I have workflow figured out, and the workflow is still terrible, despite all the stuff that is done. I can tell that actually the export part is not the worst. The worst part is the animation, the annotation part, and that was the worst part. Can tell, but now thanks to the Skyrim Guild annotation add-on made by us, the Skyrim Guild people, that you should definitely download, and you have to download. If you don't, you are going to spend a lot of time doing animation for seemingly no reason, and you're going to struggle like crazy. Well, I pity you. Just get it. We worked on it, and now it's so much easier. Do you know how to use it, actually? Do you want a small demo on how to use it?
I have read the fuck you and the manual.
Okay.
And I thought that I really don't need it, because you can on Cars rig you can add annotations from the txt file just into Blender, and just like you bake keyframes, you can bake annotations with this.
Yeah, this is the old workflow they used in 3ds, and it's actually one of the reasons why this was made, because that thing is it's actually not great for having done this. So you're right, we used to do this manually. Now it's better with the text, and even then when I arrived, so there was no way to do it by hand, but now it's lot easier too. Wait, where am I? Okay, so this one, let me see what I expect. So now God, is it the right one? I don't remember. Okay, well, let me split you my other Blender file. So the point of it is to be able to import presets. Importing presets is well, it's very useful if you do a lot of annotations, because basically what you have is your annotation is not controlled by a text that you make, it's now controlled by a bone. So what you get is where is it? Do I have it here? I hope I have it here somewhere. Do I have my annotation bone somewhere? Okay, I'm gonna save a keyframe for everything. Oh wait, I think I might not have them on this rig. That will be funny. That will also make me look stupid. Oh yeah, it's not the right one. Oh. Wait, was it? Was it the right one? So then again, like the point of it was to be able to edit to import presets, and it's true, the presets are not always essential for, especially if you use like very simple stuff. But for example, if you use something like precision, particularly for precision, it's actually one of the main reasons why it was made, because the annotation precisions are straight up awful for the reason that you just have so many and you have so many parameters inside the precision. What is that shit? Inside the precision. Okay. Let me check if it worked. Okay, I had it work. Okay, I'm good. Do you see the stream? Actually, you should see the stream.
Yes.
Okay, so
I see the awful white thing.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to change. And again, I'm dark white mode enjoyer. So actually, what you can see here is that like I have my reference rig. So this is my mocap. Rig. So this is the Skyrim female rig, and the good thing is that like you can import entire presets. So this is the preset for DMCU. And now in my Skyrim rig, unless okay, if I save, I now have bones for bones here. So these bones here are annotation bones. Wait, I'm gonna make it black so it's easier to read. How do I change the color? Oh, it's here. Oh, it's not activated? Did I not activate the color stuff? Wait, I need to go into... Yeah, okay, it's activated. See, here, now I have all these bones in red are just annotations. So this, you're right, like for some stuff it's not useful, but the good thing is that like if you make your animations, you can just move them on the timeline, like here. So this is like, of course, pretty useful. So this is probably actually similar to what you'd see in the DS Anim Studio. But the moment where it actually shines, it's for stuff like this. So I have a bone called Anim Speed, and if I go here...
Wait a moment. I can't see a part of your monitor. The left part, it is just...
Oh shit! Huh. That's... Oh wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, that was very stupid. Very stupid mistake. I accidentally dragged the monitor. And someone said it on the chat on top. Oh wow. Okay, well. So you have then again, the bones here. What was I doing? Where is it? Edit mode. Okay. I have it selected here. And I have my bones there. So if I go here on the anim speed and I go to my custom properties of the bones, did I not set it up? I should have set it up. Oh, okay, I think I know why. Okay, so I need to select my bone instead. Oh, that wasn't smart. Add the XP attack speed. Here, you see, I have something where I can actually keyframe and change the speed here. I can change the speed of my animation here. I can change the annotation directly. And all of this is controlled by bone. So, for example, here, setting the next dodge, I can set it to 1, set it to 2, or whatever. You know, like did I just Alt F4? I might have Alt F4. But you get the idea, right?
Yeah,
so, this is, then again, not particularly essential for stuff as simple as this, but if we take something that is not as simple as this, and actually then again pretty, I say it's got pretty fucking awful. Then again, it's like this is what motivated me to do it, because what I used to do back then is take the bones and just create bones manually and do it like this. But the reason I made an entire new, well, we made an entire new plugins at Skyrim Guild is because some mods, the more we go, the more the mods require detailed annotation. And it is really, really annoying to do it by hand. It's just, okay, you genuinely don't want to do that. Some of them are, so Scar, for example, does this. I don't have a preset for Scar yet, but maybe I should do that at a later time. But the ones mostly that are the most annoying are, so you can see here, like, I have a preset, by the way, so this is, this one is for the attack animation. So this is MCO Precision, well, it's MCO Precision TDM. I think that was all. Maybe there was something else, I don't remember. So this has all the annotations for TDM, for, sorry, Precision, Then again, precision is the main reason why this tool was made in the first place, because precision is just, it requires a lot of annotation. It's a very good mod, by the way, so I'm not cheating on precision by any margin. And the annotation it adds are essential, but it's just that if you want to tweak it, you do need a lot of them, and it's just so tedious to do it by hand. Where are they? Where are my bones? Did I not save my keyframe? Up. No, okay, I had it saved. So if I go here, so I have like left leg hit frames, for example. So this one adds the hit frames for literally all the bones in the leg. But if you want to have something more detailed, so then again, as I mentioned, you have the thing to set the next attack, the next power attack, blah blah blah. But where is the generic one for precision is custom bone hit frames, I think. Is it the one? I think it's the custom bone hit frames, I'm not sure. Might not be this one. Yeah, it's this one. So you change the name of the custom bone. No, actually, this one works too, but the right weapon works. And you notice that it's effectively the same thing. It's just the name of the bone changes. But because it's for human, I already made some the presets for you. But here you can see that in precision, I can change the damage multiplier. I can change the duration. I can change the ground shake. And trust me, playing with an annotation like this without the tool, it's really not funny. So if you have to write even half of them by hand, you are going to waste a lot of time. Ultimately, you're going to waste a lot of time for seemingly no reason. Does it make sense?
Okay, I will download it.
So then it's mostly precision. So now there's only the human attack. So this is precision. You have MCU and all, of course. And also it makes it super easy after, because your animations are literally keyframes. So it's like you can just change the recovery or whatever. And the good thing is, because it's standard, right? So you can make your own presets if you need. Oh, you saw that. Yeah, you might have seen the theme change, because I have something to auto switch to dark mode when it's night, which as the sun is setting. So well, okay. So you have what is it? So you can do that for any other mod. So I have one preset for DMCU actually that I have not published yet. Yeah, honestly, to be honest, I think this preset is too big too. I think there's too much shit in this preset. I think you could. It's because I wanted to go overboard and make a lot of good stuff, like just to show you what a preset looks like. But if you wanted to do it properly, once I can find my Blender window, there's a Blender window. This one, so this is VS Code, and you can see, so this is my preset. Ultimately, this is my preset. So you see here, for example, the MCU WinOpen. This is not something exactly explicit, I would say. When you look at it, if you don't know what this is already, it can be actually hard to understand what this is. So instead, it's called Next Attack Open in the preset. So here, this is why you will see there the names are actually different. The other one is to try to have, while it retains the names in the annotations that are written, they do not change. The name that you will see yourself is going to be different, so hopefully it's easier to read and easier to understand. Like for example, set next attack, it's a lot easier to understand that than this one, pi dot at sgvi blah blah all this shit, and then after you set the number here. It's a lot easier to understand set next attack. Does it make sense?
Yes, of course it does make sense. Can I ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
Not, I don't know, is it about animation? Yes, maybe it is about animation. In the SNM Studio, I saw that they use the turn speed mechanic in animations. So when you or NPC is hitting, you have windows when you can turn just like 360 degree, and when you finish the attack, you cannot turn at all. And NPCs also use this.
So that thing is, it's part of it in MCO, part, only a part. So this is, I should have it. Do I not have it here? So there's something called lock rotation, but, and you're right, this is not ideal because it just literally straight up completely locks the rotation. TDM actually does that for you, for as long as you are in 360 mode. In TDM, you can use the, so this is why this annotations here, TDM attack mid, TDM attack end. TDM has something for you to change this. I don't think it affects the NPC though. At the moment, the lock rotation is still like the way to go, but then again, I forgot to add it here. Jeez. Oh no, actually, I think Precision does it too. Precision also does it. There is yeah, I think it's, I need to check. I will need to check. I think Precision does it too. So Precision is probably, if Precision does it, the implementation is probably better than the one I have. Okay, I'm on Google now. I need to check. Cause maybe it doesn't. Does it not? Or maybe it's through directional movement. I guess I don't know. You would have to ask Ursh, I guess. This is not really my domain. Then again, I try to do it, but like this requires SKC to do properly, and I cannot do SKC for the life of me. For I am merely a simple animator, and the code scares me. I can do script for myself, simple stuff, but anyone, if I see more than 5 lines of text, I start crying and I roll in the corner and die. If you want a bit more detail, so this is something I repeated for. If you go into, did I end the stream? I might have ended the stream. Oh my god. Wait, I think I did the stream. Oh shit. No, it's not over? I'm not sure. Oh my.
Oh, the stream is going on.
Okay. Oh, it scared me because I closed my browser and I didn't even notice. Yeah, so SKC, if you know what, do you know what this is? Like maybe I can help you a bit, guide you a bit on what this is if you want more information. Maybe you do know not want more information.
I have no idea of scripting at all.
No idea of scripting. So SKC.
I have troubles with Papyrus scripting. And
Yeah.
you know that
It's a whole different thing. So like, to give you a bit of my background, I studied law, so coding is not my domain at all. Animation is not my domain at all either. So what you do is that you have the code, and the code is that will be interesting to talk about a bit about this. Is the code you have? It's written in C++. This is C++ is the language used for most games. And basically what you do when you want to make a mod with SKC is that you hack the game. It's literally hacking, basically. You find the game in the... Wait, let me show you something. You try to find some parts of code in the game, and you literally inject your code in the middle. And the issue with this is that first you need to be good at coding in C++, which I am not good at. I'm not good at coding at all. So I can't help you with this. And you also need to be good at something called reverse engineering, if you know what this is.
I know people who...
People do. Oh, Phoenix, I guess, right?
Phoenix, and I think you don't know him, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. So for those who don't know Phoenix, it's who did the best. He's actually crazy good. He reversed...
He showed me his projectile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
I think it was on the Nexus. It's on the Nexus of projectile stuff.
No. New projectiles.
New projectile? No.
You can make target aim projectiles. You can make projectiles to shoot other projectiles. You can make.
No, I have not seen that. Okay. Okay.
You can make the projectile to shoot like from the shotgun.
Yeah. Okay, so that's actually, yeah.
You can make all shapes for projectiles. So you cast a projectile, and multiple projectiles will cast in different shapes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's. I didn't see that. This is like way more. It's way more advanced than anything we've had so far.
He said he's working on not Sky Oblivion. Morrowind mod.
Oh.
How does it called?
Skywind?
Yes, on Skywind.
Oh, okay.
He's doing something for Skywind team,
Oh, I didn't know.
as I know.
So yeah, basically, so you get the code. The code you get is like C++. So this is how you would write C++. Okay, let me try to find. So C++ looks something like this, right? And this is how the game is written. And yeah, when you try to do reverse engineering, you lose a lot of this information. You actually lose almost everything, and you get another language, I guess. Is it? I don't know. Oh, well, I guess it's a language called assembly, which looks like this and is even worse. So this is assembly. So this is not funny to do. Like this actually looks absolutely god awful. There is this software, this specific software, IDA has something to generate pseudocode for you. So it generates code in C, and you have to try to interpret it to figure out what the code does, actually. Now, though, with ChatGPT, I think this is probably a lot easier to do. You can probably just go and ask ChatGPT all the time, and hopefully it will help you better than what IDA can do. So this was the little moment of education SKC if you wanted. But this is basically what you'd have to do if you wanted to do that. But then again, the issue with SKC is that you actually need to be good at coding first. You need to know code. You need to know code, how to code, before you can start reading over people's code. And even, especially here, you need to know code before you can start reading over people's code that is obfuscated, you would say. It's literally not their code. It's just something interpreted from it. So it's like, if you don't have the basics, you're going to struggle a lot. But it's literally going to be impossible, which we don't. Okay, is there more? I think that should be everything. Actually, I think I have to go. Oh, I should have gone 10 minutes ago. So it was quite long. I don't know if Black is still here. Hopefully he's still here. If he isn't, well,
He is
too bad.
listening
Uh,
quietly.
okay, well, I guess it's time to end the stream, and hopefully we'll see you another time in Skyrim Guild or elsewhere. Have fun, y'all, and see you. And
Oh,
wait, I should have.
okay.
Oh, do you have something more you wanted to?
No.
Okay. Have fun, y'all. So.